Hi everyone, this is a Vengeance Demon Hunter Mythic Trillax tanking guide. Trillax is the third boss encounter in Nighthold. He is viewed as one of the easier bosses. The footage is of the Mythic encounter, but the mechanics I go over will work for Heroic, Normal, and LFR. The only Mythic change for tanking is an extra ad, which is a clone of one of his personalities that you just off tank and burn down quick. Before we get to the footage, let's talk about the talents I use for this fight. First tier, level 99, I use Razor Spikes. This is 30% more physical damage while Demon Spikes is active. The other two talents really not useful for Trillax. In the 100 tier, you can use any of these three. Fallout, Burning Alive, Feast of Souls, this is a personal preference of yours, whatever you prefer to play. Personally, I just use Fallout, produce maybe an extra fragment or two during the boss fight that I can use for Spirit Bomb, Soul Barrier, etc. The 102 tier, I like to use Failure Eruption. This is the best single target ability that you can use. Trillax is a single target fight minus a short period of time when you have two ads up. Flame Crash will work just fine if that's what you prefer. I like Failure Eruption. 104 Fracture. This is the go-to ability. This has to be used for Mythic rating. There is no time where Soul Rending or Feed the Demon would be useful if you're geared and running Mythic Nighthold. Basically, this is superior single target damage and produces 2 soul fragments per fracture. Fragments can be used for Spirit Bomb, Soul Barrier, Healing, Painbringer, or even proccing your meta. For 106, I like to use Quicken Sigils. This will allow your sigils to activate 1 second faster and lower the cooldown by 20%. This makes your flame sigil to be about 24 seconds. If you want a little bit more DPS, then you can use concentrated sigils. I don't like the ability where I can't just place my flame sigil where I want, so I don't like to use it, but it'll work just fine if that's what you prefer. The 108 tier, I personally use Spirit Bomb, and this is mainly for the frailty debuff for the healing. Any creature that has frailty on it, you'll heal for 20% of the damage you do. If you want a little bit more single target damage, Fell Devastation works perfectly fine. I know a lot of people prefer to use this. To give you an idea, when I was comparing logs for about a 6-minute fight, this will do about 3 million more single target damage than Spirit Bomb will. However, you won't heal back via the damage you do. 110, Soul Barrier is very good for Trillax. The Arcane Slash that he does, this will be up for every second Arcane Slash, give or take. So when you have 1 or 2 debuffs on you, you can pop up Soul Barrier and absorb a lot of the incoming damage. If you don't need Soul Barrier, or if you're going to use healer cooldowns or anything like that, you can run with Demonic Infusion. Demonic Infusion is a DPS increase. When you use Demonic Infusion, you get instant Demon Spikes, and then you refresh the charges of Demon Spikes up to 2, and you gain 60 pain. And this is a DPS increase because you are using Razor Spikes, which gives you the 30% increased physical damage. For gear, I like to run the Dark Moon card. This is great for physical mitigation. So any melee attacks or any other physical damage, this will mitigate that. I also like to use the Bloodthirsty Instinct. This is just for my own personal DPS. Legendaries, you're sort of stuck using what you have, but if you have a choice, I like to use Pridus. And I also like to use Cloak of Fell Flames. This is another 15% magic DR and Arcane Slash, which is pretty big. Other alternatives is the Archmon Trinket, which is a fantastic trinket. Or if you don't have any of these 3, you can use Fragment. Stat-wise, I go into Versatility first. I only have 12.7%. I'm not as lucky and drops. After verse, you want mastery. After mastery, you want haste. After haste, you want writ. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at the footage. Okay, so with this footage, I start tanking. So what I want to do is to maximize my threat output at the start of the fight, so the off tank doesn't pull threat. So the pull is a little convoluted, but I'm going to show it to you. Since I'm using Quicken Sigils and Fell Eruption, and I am not using Flame Crash, what I'm going to do is I'm going to precast my Flame Sigil at 2 seconds. That way it explodes as we pull the boss. So precast Flame Sigil, and then I'm going to pre-pot an Old War, and then I'm going to Infernal Slam in, so I'm landing on the boss at 0 seconds. So as I'm flying through the air and I'm about ready to land on the boss, I'm going to cast Fiery Brand. This is going to open up the 10-second window of Fiery Demise, which increases your fire damage by 30% without any extra relics. You can get that up to 60% if you've been lucky with relic drops. So it opens up Fiery Demise. So I'm going to then cast Immolate as fire damage to start my pain generation. Followed by Soul Carver to get my souls fragments generated. That's also fire damage, so that is 30% increased damage. At that point, Immolate Aura should give me enough pain to cast Fell Eruption, which is chaos damage, but since Fiery Demise is up, it's going to count as fire damage. And then you start your normal rotation. So let's go ahead and watch that.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You're tracking mud everywhere.
Now at this point, the rotation started. And he's going to cast Arcane Slash, so I'm going to start with an Empower Wards to go ahead and get up Power Siphon, or Siphon Power for the agility. And at this point you want to try to keep up your Frailty debuff from Spirit Bomb, or use Fell Devin cooldown. You're taunting at 2 debuffs. On Mythic and Heroic, you should always be grouped up on your tank. The Arcane Slash is magic damage that is split between 2 people that it hit. So you always want to stay grouped up. Now these toxic slices that come out here, you want, if you're able to pick up any of these cakes that you're able to. Most of the time, as you're going to see a little bit later, the ones spawn directly behind the tanks go and pick them up. And on Mythic difficulty, you have to have all the cakes picked up, or people are going to die. So Arcane Bond comes out. This is a debuff between you and the off tank, and as long as you're grouped up, you guys don't take any extra damage. Otherwise, it does, I think it's 83,000 arcane damage every 0.3 seconds. Alright, so when the boss goes in for his annihilation, tanks can go either to the left side of the boss or the right side of the boss. We found that is better, especially on Mythic, if both tanks go to the left side of the boss, right here. And the reason for this is this is where the melee is positioned, so it's easy for them to go on the left. That way, when we have the add up in the next annihilation phase, all the melee are able to hit the add as we're spinning in circles. If you go to the right side of the boss, you're losing all that DPS uptime. So you should always go to the left side of the boss and still stay grouped up. And then you just DPS and rotate. There's nothing special here. So as a tank at this point, what you see me doing is I'm looking to see where the best place to bring the boss that is as closest to these arcane seepages on the ground. So I see over here, triangle is clear, and it's right next to this giant patch of arcane seepage. The reasoning is you want your range, who's picking up these feasts, to be in range to DPS the boss as they are lowering the energy of these scrubbers. So you want to be as close to the puddles as you can, so your ranged DPS can still DPS as they do their own job. So at this point, it's just a repeat of what we just did. This fight isn't too complex. I use Immolation Aura there for the cloak, legendary cloak for the 15% magic DR. Otherwise, we're just walking backwards, staying grouped up. So here, as you can see, cake spawn behind us, and since we have to stay grouped up, we're not allowed to go across the room to get a cake. So since they spawn behind us, I moved to pick up a cake. The druid should have, but he was busy doing what he was doing. So the Arcane Bonds is coming out. So right there, I made a mistake. He is doing Arcane Slash, so I'm supposed to pop a cooldown. But this is the same time that the ad spawns, the Mythic only ad. You can see the ad coming out at the top. And I knew we weren't near the spawn point, so I started to panic. So I forgot to throw up any cooldown. I didn't have Empower Wards ready. I could have and should have used Soul Barrier. But I panicked and started to look for the ad, and I didn't use anything. So it almost one-shot me, as you can tell. So I pick up the ad, I burn him over. Now this ad, honestly, is just a tank and spank ad. A shaman or a priest has to keep it dispelled. Other than that, you just keep it grouped up on the boss for cleave. And this is why we always go to the left hand side. All the melee can hit this ad as we're spinning in circles.
4, 3, 2, 1.
I'm not sure what I've done, but I'm positive I deserve this beating.
So you just keep this tanking the ad, and as long as your DPS is doing their job and you keep it purged, it doesn't really do anything difficult. It's just tank and spank.
How dare you drag blood across my floor?
Alright, so we just bring him over here to a clear area near the other arcane seepage. And then the fight just keeps repeating. Quite a few times here I should use Soul Barrier. I didn't. I'm also the raid leader, so I was calling out other stuff and I didn't notice it was ready. So nothing new here. I saw the cake spawn, so I tried to pick it up, but the shaman beat me to it. Yeah, I didn't use Soul Barrier like I should have. So go left side of the boss, and then we just kill him. Now, on Mythic, this is where the second ad comes out. Normally, if you have the DPS to kill him here, that's great, but this is the first kill that we've done where the boss died before the second ad. So assuming we didn't kill him right here, what's going to happen is as soon as the annihilation finishes, the second ad will spawn. So we pick up the ad and we bring it to the boss. Now the only difference here is what we like to do is we keep the boss and the ad in the middle of the room. As long as there's no arcane seepage, we just keep them in the middle of the room, because at this point on your first kill, you should be around 20%. So it's going to take you another minute and a half maybe. So you just keep them in the middle of the room, so there's not much movement, you just burn the boss down. You keep the ad purged, but you leave the ad alone. And you just kill the boss. The boss would die before the ad will. So keep the ad, second ad and the boss in the middle of the room, and you maximize your damage on the boss and you just kill the boss. And that's it. Trillax is dead. Nice and easy. If you have any questions, please let me know. Leave a comment, like or subscribe if you liked it. Otherwise, thanks for watching.